We are heading to week 9 where we have a good slate of games this week. We get ready to take place for playoffs as well as Selection Saturday is coming up this week.
Yeah.
So we roll right from Friday night games into Selection Saturday. But Shane, we had some good games here this past week. I got 4 of them off the top of my head that I can really stand out. Obviously, we had the Dakota EPC game that we were at. Dakota was up 10-0 in that one at the halftime, and then EPC stormed back in the second half to score 21 unanswered points. You have the Stockton Aquin matchup, which was in our Upstate game of the week, where Aquin got out to a quick 6-0 lead, but then when Stockton came back, scored to take an 8-6 lead at halftime, eventually pulling away 20-6. East Dubuque Orangeville is another one, where Orangeville led 27-19 at the half, but that was the last that Orangeville would score the rest of that game, as East Dubuque would come back and put up another 20 unanswered.
A week too late for East Dubuque, unfortunately.
Yes, I mean, East Dubuque could be playing for the playoffs this week.
Yeah.
Instead, they're
with a winnable game against West Carroll. So
instead they're playing for playoff points for other teams.
Yeah.
And then we had Westmont Warren, where Warren and Westmont were tied at zeros at the half, and then Warren took a 6-0 lead with 5:31 left in the third quarter, and then Westmont scored the game winner with the point after attempt. As we reached the end of the game, there were 17 seconds left.
So close for Warren. Not many people picked them to win. We didn't even, looking at schedule and everything, we didn't even think it was going to be that close.
No.
But, hats off to Warren. They finally get a crack with AFC this week, though, so maybe we'll see them in the win column. Maybe we won't. But, they've really played some tough games against some good teams. I mean, if you go all the way back to week 2, they were leading Aquin, which, now doesn't look that significant with Aquin probably on the outside looking into the playoffs. But anytime, you're in that side of the conference and you got a lead on Aquin, you feel pretty good about yourself. So, Warren's really played some good ball. Just couldn't quite get it done last week.
Right. And it's unfortunate, but, it does speak volumes for what Warren's had to go through with the low numbers that they have. A lot of underclassmen playing games. And then you go up against a school that's a 3A school, and I know that Westmont's struggling. They're an independent now, so they've had not the best of schedules either, but you still expect a 3A of that size to beat a 1A school that is struggling and is actually leaving the conference going into the next year. But that just, like you said, that tells you how hard and how well coached and how tough this Warren team is.
Exactly.
As we get set to head towards Selection Saturday, don't forget to sign up and become subscribers to our YouTube channel. We will be doing our live show for the second season with the playoff show, and that will be on our YouTube Live. So as long as you subscribe, you'll be notified when we go live on the YouTube for the playoff show. At the same token, you'll get all the updates and notifications every time that we post and upload a video. So we'll get that spread out across Facebook and Twitter as well. So that way all of our social media pages are up to date with that as well. Warren at AFC, both teams come in with an 0-8 record, as Warren lost to Westmont 7-6 last week, and AFC lost to Polo 42-18. Shane, last year AFC won this game 34-8, but this year you're seeing both teams where AFC's really struggled a lot this year, where Warren has been in a lot of their games, respectively. This year,
AFC's basically gotten their doors blown off, except for week 1 against River Edge, and that was a 3-score, should have been 6-score game, so to speak.
Yeah, it was 22-0.
Yeah,
it could have been closer to 42-0. River Ridge had 3 touchdowns called back in that game.
Yeah, And then, Warren, they're playing tight games, not score-wise, but tight competition-wise. Like, they're putting forth the effort. It's not shown in the box score, but they're not clockers in the first quarter like years past we've seen. Everybody thought they were literally going to get killed by Lena, and that didn't happen. I mean, yeah, they got clocked, but it wasn't body pegs, out the door. So, to me, there's really not much to say about AFC. It's just they're bad. I really don't know what else to say at this point. I like Warren in this game. Last week was a game that you can make a little momentum off of even after losing. You feel good about yourself. You're in a game. And you also have that little thing in your mind telling you, hey, this is the last year of Warren football. Let's go out with a victory.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, you take a look at both schools. Really, numbers-wise, both of them have about the same amount of numbers. And here, Warren is going into a co-op with South Wayne next year, and AFC is going to be remaining on their own.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of a tale of two stories here. Warren has the opportunity to go into a co-op. They're going to go into a co-op. I would not be surprised that after 2 years in that co-op, they jump to 8-man football. AFC, I think, is looking for a co-op. I don't so much think they want to go to 8-man football.
Well, I don't blame them. Nobody wants to concede to that, and at this point, it is a concession to some standards. I mean, we'll talk about Polo in a little bit, but there's another team. We're talking about a playoff team going to 8-man. Not something you want to do. But that also brings another question for AFC moving forward. You got numbers problems. You suck. Sorry, I don't mean that to sound as bad as it does, but you haven't won in a while. And here we have a conference realignment coming down the line next year. Everything's set to go, and it's like, how's this play out for AFC? Because they're not going to improve with the alignment, but yet they still think that they can. Like, I'm just at a loss for it. Like, I don't know. Maybe they're too proud, and I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It's one of those things where you got to do what you feel is right for your program and the direction that you're heading. And, I mean, right now it's tough. I mean, they don't have the numbers that they want to have.
Yeah.
And I know that Coach Winterland is working really hard as far as getting that direction going, but he's not getting the buy-in.
Right. And so I mean, when you don't have that, that's hard to come back from.
Right, it is. It's very tough. And I feel for him. I mean, it's a struggle, and the kids that are there, they're playing, they're trying to play, and you gotta give them their credit too.
It's just not there.
Right.
Warren.
I like Warren in this one as well. Orangeville at Stockton. Orangeville comes in with a 5-3 mark, while Stockton comes in with a 6-2 mark. Last week, Orangeville lost to East Dubuque 39-27, whereas Stockton beat Aquin in our Upstate game of the week 20-6. And last year, this game was won by Stockton 28-16, as both teams did advance to the playoffs. Orangeville obviously having to travel to Anawan Weathersfield last year, while Stockton got the home game against Cuba North Fulton. Stockton advanced, Orangeville lost in the first round. Here, you got an opportunity to almost have the same situation play out where, if Stockton wins, they're going to host, and then Orangeville lost, they're on the road. Even with an Orangeville win, they're going to be on the road regardless.
Yeah.
But if they win, they're going to be seated higher in Stockton.
Yeah. Both teams are playoff bound. Just got to feel good for Orangeville. This is kind of been there, done that for Stockton for how many years now. And Orangeville this will be their second in a row. What did we say at the beginning of the year? They're trying to get to the playoffs for back-to-back years since
95, 96.
I mean, you're talking quite a few years, or 22 years. So, that is quite well for Orangeville. Here, looking at it, they're sitting at 5 wins, try to get to that 6th win. And it's two teams that are pretty evenly matched, in my opinion.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. I think that this game can generally go either way, but the what I can see happening here is Stockton right now, based off of some things that are going on with Orangeville as far as injuries are concerned. I think Stockton's going to have the upper hand here. But you never know. Anything's obviously possible. One of the things that we just found out tonight is that Polo has to vacate 2 playoff points because Metro East Lutheran vacated their 2 victories earlier this year. So, with that, where both of them were projected, Polo and Orangeville at 5 wins, and Polo having 41 points, you take those 2 points off, now they're sitting at 39.
Yeah.
They're actually going to fall into the 16 seed.
Which is better for them.
Which is great for them. Orangeville's going to move into the 15 seed if they lose to Stockton, which is going to put Orangeville on the road to Marquette in the first round.
Right.
So that changes a little bit of that picture around that Orangeville is looking at.
Well, and they're, excuse me, that's not really what Orangeville wants to see. No disrespect to Princeville, we saw them last year, but I'd much rather face Princeville than Marquette at this point. Marquette is the real deal, in my opinion. This isn't a 2015, 2016 Marquette team that is just going to sleepwalk to the semifinals. If they get to the semifinals, they've earned it. And on the flip side, if Stockton goes 6-3, I'm sure you've sent me the bracket at some point when I've asked you 500 different scenarios. But that'll put them on the road.
You're not the only one.
Right. That'll put them on the road too. So, I mean, lots at stake in this game. But, like we've been saying all year, for Stockton, it's really Dvorak and whether Orangeville is going to be able to contain him. And, vice versa on Orangeville backs. So, and I like this matchup, but like you said, I think it favors Stockton a little bit at this point.
It does, and I mean, you're going on the road, you're going to Stockton. Stockton's always a tough place to play to begin with. I've stated this in the past. I always enjoyed going to Stockton and playing there. I think part of it's because the fans are so close to the field, so you get that energy and that camaraderie built up there. Then you're sitting right next to the highway, so you got the semis going through, honking their horns, and I mean, it's just a cool environment. The field sucks though, but the rest of it's good. But like you said, this game is going to come down to what Stockton can do, and if Orangeville can prevent it from happening. I think with the injuries Orangeville has right now, I think Stockton's going to get this one. River Ridge at Hoopeston. This game has nothing on the line as far as what can take place for playoff eligibility, as both teams are out. River Ridge comes out with a 3-5 record. Hoopeston comes out with a 2-6 record. But the almighty playoff point is on the line here with River Ridge for the Upstate side of the conference. Last week, River Ridge lost to Milledgeville 54-14, where Hoopeston lost to Dwight 51-0. This is the first ever meeting between these two schools, and this game will be taking place at Ottawa Marquette, so they're meeting in the middle at a neutral site. It'll still be played on a Friday night at 7 o'clock. Originally it was scheduled for a 2 o'clock game on Saturday. It moved to Friday due to some changes that were made. Luckily, it's a better thing for us that moved to Friday.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of Saturday games on the last week of this, especially for people putting brackets together.
Right.
I mean, I know they have to be done by 3 o'clock, but still. And especially like when it's the Chicago Public League rolling up scores, they're hard enough to find anyway.
Yes. Gosh. They're always tough to find those scores.
So I'm glad they moved this game. River Ridge really coming off a throttling last week, and I hate to say it, but kind of a overall disappointing season for River Ridge. I mean, we had high hopes. One game that really just sticks out to me is that game against Orangeville. Granted, I think we were kind of split on whether they're going to win or not, but just the way that game kind of went, kind of carried on a tone moving forward.
In a way, yes. I and I'm pretty sure
I think
you
we both picked.
I picked Orangeville.
Or did okay? So yeah,
because I had Orangeville. I had Orangeville at 7-2.
Yeah.
Going into the end of the season, that's where I originally projected them.
I had them at 5-4.
And River Ridge I had at 5-4.
So yeah.
So I still had River Ridge making the playoffs. The problem with that, though, the real game that I see that they lost.
Well, that Galena game.
The Galena game. That was definitely a game that you give River Ridge another opportunity. They could have had that. Even the game against Stockton. They played very tough with Stockton. Yep. Had the opportunity, actually, to take the lead against Stockton. Had a dropped end zone, or a drop touchdown in the end zone on a 4th and 3 play. It was 4th and goal from the 3. So it resulted in a turnover on downs. They convert that. They're in the lead of that game with the opportunity to potentially win it.
Right, and that's, right now we're just looking at single games for River Ridge because you're at 3-5 right now. You flip that.
You're 5-3.
Right.
And you're in.
Right.
On playoff points alone.
Right. Well, they'd be 4-4 right now, but where I'm going with this, I'm going to pick one against Hoopeston. But that would have gave them their 5th win, and they're in. So
and that's kind of where I had projected them through the course of the season too. That they had to be 4-4 going into this game with Hoopeston.
I missed that one.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Hoopeston, River Ridge should walk through this game. Hoopeston's not a good club. I like River Ridge on the road.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I was looking at some things with Hoopeston to get some background information, and the Corn Jerkers just have not put together much of a
name.
I know, right?
Corn Jerkers.
The Corn Jerkers. It actually made ESPN top 10 original mascot names back in probably a little over a decade ago. The pretzels were in it too for Freeport, so that was a pretty cool article. And then there was some team out of Missouri. They're called the Cupies. You know what a Cupie is? It's a little baby doll. Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like the Fisher Bunnies.
Yeah, actually the bunnies were on it too, so it's pretty cool. 3 teams from Illinois were on that list.
Them here in a couple weeks, so kind of neat.
It is. But as far as Hoopeston goes, they've struggled mightily to put together wins over the years. I mean, they play in a decent conference, but their conference is down this year. I like the Wildcats in this, and to be honest, I think that they could easily win this by 2 scores as long as they come ready to play. Our crossover game takes us to Lanark, where EPC is going to play host to Polo. Polo comes in with a 5-3 mark, where EPC comes in with the perfect 8-0 mark after they beat Dakota 21-10. Polo became playoff eligible with their win over AFC 42-18. A little bit different scenario from where we were last year. Last year at this time, Polo came in with the same 5-3 mark. EPC was sitting here at 4-4, and because of that, it actually kept Polo out of the playoffs. Where this year, EPC with the 8-0 mark is going to get Polo into the playoffs.
Yeah.
When last year EPC won this game 41-7 as well.
Yeah. Tale of different years, really. EPC is sitting at 8-0. How they got there sometimes makes you wonder because they haven't really been playing that well lately. They've benefited from a backloaded, easier schedule, in my opinion, against some teams that you can come out slow and still rebound in order to win. They haven't faced Galena, Winslow, or Forreston, tight teams for a while now. So, and a perfect example is that last week when they played a bad Dakota team and was able to rebound in the second half and win.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at that game where Dakota's up 10-0, and I thought it was kind of funny because I even remember saying at the half, I'm like, watch, something's coming.
Well, they left you. I mean,
and Dakota was celebrating like they had already won the game, and it was only halftime.
Right. Well, especially when you leave points on the field like that. That just allowed EPC to open the door. And then, 2 big runs by Kemple, and suddenly they're up. But what really got them going was that drive defensively out of the half. forced Dakota to a 3-and-out. I'm still not exactly sure what the heck was going on with that. Dakota kind of really played into EPC's hands, and EPC took advantage of it. Peterson's hit for a touchdown on a slip by the corner. Next thing you know, Kempel's off to the races twice, and it's 21-10.
Yeah, I mean, EPC took advantage of what they needed to take care of in that game, and I mean, they got it done, and then they finished it off. I mean, that's just what it came down to. I mean, Dakota matched their intensity to start. That's what Dakota needed to do.
The worst thing that happened in that game was halftime.
Yeah. But, a mark of a champion is how many times can you stay on top of yourself and keep things going even in the face of adversity. And that's exactly what EPC did.
Right.
I mean, they came back and they kept fighting and they earned it. And the second half, I mean, they brought the same intensity in the second half, and Dakota just couldn't match it up in the second half.
So, but and on the reverse side, Polo's at 5-3. The last year of 11-man, gonna get into the playoffs. Looking like the 16th seed now, that taking some playoff points away from them. So, yeah, man, I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but
hey, it's going to work out in Polo's advantage, though, because
sure.
If everything goes as planned, they're going to be going to Princeville, which is actually not a bad matchup for them coming into this year.
A lot of things can happen, and they're still going to end up with Princeville.
Right.
Providing Princeville wins. I don't see how they don't.
Well, the only thing, I mean, really, there's a couple things that can happen for that to not take place, and it all comes down to Dwight and Seneca getting what would be considered upset wins to propel Marquette to the number 1 seed with more playoff points.
Just not likely scenarios. But, I just don't think that Polo can match up with EPC. Not even close. And realistically, EPC is a good team this year. Should be a little different than last year as far as once the playoffs push forward. But yeah, this game I got EPC at home.
Yeah, I like EPC at home too. I just hope that Polo comes ready to fight.
Yeah,
they need to come ready to fight, and likewise, EPC needs to come forward, and they need to bring their best game forward as well. You still have the playoffs to get prepared for.
Yeah.
You have to come ready to play.
In a lot worse scenario than what Polo's going to be facing on 1A.
Right.
2A is going to be a dogfight.
It is. We move into the northwest section of our broadcast here, where we are going to start with Lena Winslow at Dakota. This is a rivalry match, but it's not going to be so much of a rivalry, I think. You got Lena Winslow coming in at 7-1. They were the preseason number 1 ranked team in the state. Polls have them now ranked at number 3.
Yeah.
2. Number 2. And Dakota comes in with the 6-2 mark. They've long since lost their bid to be ranked, although even despite what they are, I still consider them to be in the top 15 myself.
Yeah.
But apparently the AP doesn't.
Madison, though.
Yeah, Madison. Go Madison. Anyway, last week, Lena Winslow beat Du-Pec 41-22. Dakota lost that big game to EPC 21-10. Last year in this game, Lena Winslow put up the double nickel, 55-7. Woohoo! And there was a couple Rob go deeps and an Isaiah go deep, and it was basically Lena scored at will in that game. I mean, I remember it vividly because you had Lena fans shouting for more. They wanted more.
Yeah. Well, realistically, outside of 2011 or 2015, excuse me, this hasn't been close at all. It's a rivalry based on past. It's not a rivalry, in my opinion, because in order to have a rivalry, one team has to win, and then another can win the next year. But that Dakota hasn't won this week 8 years. This rivalry's dead, and I don't see it being revived this year.
No, it's not going to be revived this year.
I'll keep my comments about Dakota to myself because a lot of their parents can't seem to handle what I have to say about them very well.
That's where we're going to differ.
want me to give them some more credit, I'm sorry, but this is not a participation league. And I don't go off of, I mean, yeah, we face the scrutiny of you guys are biased because you're from Dakota. Well, I judge them with clear glasses because I see exactly what they are. And I'm not going to give them credit for playing one half of good football against a team that they match up evenly and haven't fallen off from last year. These are two teams that are evenly matched and should have had no problem beating EPC last week, but didn't play the second half. So I'm not going to give them credit because they don't deserve credit. I'm sorry, but when I was in school, Dakota went 43-7 with 2 state championships. I'm not going to celebrate them competing for a game. If that's the case, then why don't we whip out the sheets and we can sign up for treats and we can get everybody a medal for playing. This is not youth football. I
agree. I mean, when did it become okay to accept mediocrity? Because that's exactly where Dakota's
first off, and it's not the coaching staff. This is the players and what society has allowed them to be entitled.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. Yes, everybody knows it. Yeah, I'm proud. I'm proud to be from Dakota. But when I watch this stuff happen, you know, why? You're right. Why would I give that credit? The people before me, the people after me, busted our tails off to get Dakota to where they're at. We don't need to accept mediocrity. I mean, yes, it's good when you're getting full effort all the time. I can handle that. I can handle a 6-3 team.
I can handle a 1-8.
Yeah.
This should not be a 6-2 team.
So, Lena Winslow, though, that's the team we really need to talk about because I got asked this morning, you know, Lena Winslow, Dakota, who do you think? And I kind of laughed. I'm like, really?
You were asked that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I laughed. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Did the person watch football this year?
Yeah.
Or the last 5?
I don't know. I'm like, do you really have to ask? I mean, you only have to go to the game.
This is going to be ugly.
It is. It's going to be Lena Winslow all day long. But on top of that, Lena Winslow's got to stay level-headed.
Yeah.
I've seen too much. Lena Winslow's not doing the things that they need. They're not getting motivated. I mean, you heard Coach Aaron bring it out in a radio interview here a while back. He can't get them motivated. Something's got to change for Lena Winslow. Or they're going to walk to the semis. They're going to meet up with Aurora Christian. And then they're going to get hammered back to God's green earth, and then we're going to sit down in Champaign and watch AC take the title because there's nobody coming from the south that's going to stop that freight train.
Well, that's just it. You know, we kind of grilled, you especially kind of grilled for your lack of pass defenses on the teams from around here, but realistically...
They played piss-poor pass defense.
Exactly. And Lena Winslow has no pass defense, so that would not bode well against AC. And I would not be surprised to see them even exposed on a little bit of pass coverage this week even.
Well, here's one thing that Lena Winslow has that a lot of teams don't. They can make up for that.
Right.
And you got Coach Aaron, who is the best coach at making all those changes happen right now. I mean, this ain't the first time he's going to see an all-pass team. Hell, he played one last year at State.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Tuscola is a much better mix, but that wasn't his first go-around with Tuscola either.
And AC probably knows how to call a timeout.
Yeah, they might. They might. But here's the thing. Lena Winslow's got the recipe to compete with them because they have the big boys up front that can plow the holes open.
3 D1 linemen.
Right, exactly. You got 3 D1 dudes that can just make holes happen. Yeah, AC's got D1 talent too. That's great. That's what makes this game so much fun. Look at what Tuscola had. They had a D1 kid as well. That was a great game. Guess what? These guys can play with AC. There's no doubt about it. The problem is that they have to show up and bring it.
They got to get there.
And right now, the way they've played this year, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. They are, regardless what this says, they're the best team in the NUIC. Lena Winslow, hands down.
It's not close.
9 times out of 10, Lena Winslow will beat EPC. EPC got that one.
Yep. Agreed.
Because right now, the way the two are playing, and you're going to see it come next week, and there's no better way to look at it than right now. Galena Winslow's going to drill Dakota this week, and you just saw what EPC and Dakota did.
Yeah.
They're not even in the same class.
No, they're not. And we're not really surprised. What did you say, 55 last week?
55 to 7 last year.
Okay.
And it should have been about 80 to 7.
I'll go a little further here. We'll scale back. I'll just say 48-6.
I was thinking 48 to 14 based off of what, how they gave up 22 to Du-Pec, and you saw what people were saying about that.
37 Amboy too. I mean, these are real concerns.
Yeah, I know. So anyway,
Lena big.
Yeah, Lena's gonna win big. Coach Aaron knows exactly what he's got to do to get his boys prepared. They shouldn't be focused on AC right now. They got to stay with the mentality 1 week at a time, and they got to put that forward. And they got to come out ready to play in the second half. That was one of their big deterrents last year, not playing in the second half, not getting ready to go in the second half against competition that could play with them, a la Forreston and Tuscola.
Yep.
Now's your time to start doing that. You got week 9. You're going to have a couple cupcakes to open up the playoffs. I'm sorry.
Well, realistically, outside of AC, who's going to give them a game?
Nobody.
Right.
I mean, I keep getting asked that question, well, who do you see? I'm like, if it's not Lena Winslow and Aurora Christian in the semifinals.
Something happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Something went wrong that shouldn't have went wrong, or someone got suspended, or something to that nature. Or somebody's dog died and they forgot to show up that game. I don't know. Yeah. But it's going to be something out of the norms in order to not see that matchup take place. Galena at Du-Pec, both teams come in with a 2-6 mark. Last week, Galena lost to Amboy 35-14, where Du-Pec lost to Lena Winslow 41-22.
That was a close game.
That was a close game. Last year, Du-Pec won this game 20-12, which was the first win in Du-Pec co-op history. I shouldn't say consolidated because they're not.
Well, that was the first win for both of them in how long?
Oh my gosh! Well,
a while.
Well, Galena just won. Oh, for Durand and Pecatana.
Well, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Yeah. Ping, ping, ping.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so.
Sorry, just good talking points.
It is.
I had to get you off there.
No, it's very, very good. I like it. Thanks. So, I mean, here's a couple different things that you're going to look at between these two games. Obviously, Galena's got the passing attack with Henry Anderson. It's been rather inefficient.
He's only at 34% completion rate, though.
Yes.
Not very good.
It's not. He's throwing more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah.
Which, what was it? It was last week or the week before. I say he's kind of like a Brett Favre. He's got the talent to make the throw. He's going to make the throw, and you just don't know if it's going to be where it should be.
Yeah, I never thought about that analogy of Brett Favre there. It's a mighty drop there, money.
Yeah,
but no, I'm just giving you crap.
You think?
We almost put this as the game of the week. Had some other things not gone, more important, and the reason I suggested it is because, these are two teams that are somewhat on an even playing field, and I know that a lot of people from Du-Pec put a lot of, I don't know what you'd call it, a lot of stock into this game, which I get it. You want to beat the name, so to speak, but Galena just isn't what they used to be, but, like we said before we came on here, Du-Pec's got to find a way to get a win here. I know that for this year they're done, but you got to just keep improving on records. And, like we also said earlier, you played West Carroll, what was it? Was it 6?
6-0.
6-0. I mean, there's another potential win. You're looking at 4-5, and then, it's a good thing to build on next year.
Well, it goes back to our preview show at the beginning of the year. I mean, we talked about Du-Pec having the opportunity to be able to get that 3-4 win mark to show that they're starting to build for what we see coming down the pipeline beginning next season. But in the same token, I mean, I think Du-Pec becomes a playoff team by next year. They should, with the talent that they have. But 2020 is actually the season I'm really looking at for Du-Pec to really surface and become
a player,
right.
So to speak. And it's always going to be tough in 3A when you don't have to go far down the road for the #1 team in Byron.
Well, shoot, right now they would be a 2A team anyway because where
that's true.
Where the cutoff is at, they're underneath there.
Right, which doesn't happen often.
No, this is kind of an abnormal year where 1A is low and 2A is high. Usually
they drop together.
Yeah.
They rise together. Yeah. But yeah.
It's an anomaly this year.
Yeah. I mean, Du-Pec really did put a good effort out for West Carroll. I know I just talked to you and I even talked to Coach Hoffman about it a little bit. I was like, hey, and then at that point, the next week was EPC, and that was a game that we had potentially saw that might be, something a little more than what it ended up being. And then, because you looked at their schedule, they played West Carroll close, and you're thinking, okay, how's EPC going to be? Because they were a little shaky early, so maybe they sneak one off there, and then they follow that up with potential Amboy. But EPC, obviously sitting at 8-0, really took off from that point. Amboy is a lot better than what they did, and those are a couple games that we thought that if they potentially win.
We'll go back to week 1 and what Du-Pec hung around with Forreston for 3 quarters.
That's just it. I mean, they played a good season though. No shame in that.
I like the way they're playing. We mentioned that last week with
the
way that they're playing.
The way they're playing, they're at home. I like Du-Pec at home.
Yeah, I do too. I like Du-Pec getting their 3rd win. You take a look at where we said at the beginning of the year, get to that 3-4 win mark, you start building for that success. You're right there. Now's the time to take advantage of it. Forreston at Amboy. Shane, Forreston comes with a 6-2 mark. Amboy comes in with that 3-5 mark. Last week, Forreston beat West Carroll 48-6, where Amboy beat Galena 35-14. And this is a game last year, Shane, that Forreston won 54-6. I don't think that score is going to take place this year, but I do like the way that Forreston is playing now. Yeah. They're definitely getting geared up. Typically what we see out of the Cards over the past few years, they start getting going this time of the year.
Well, they really haven't played anybody since week 4.
No, they have not.
No.
But you look at what they're putting forward, and it's still rather impressive.
I mean, yeah, it was the same thing last year. Like, they had, They had Dakota, Lena Winslow, EPC, bang, 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 and then just we kind of forgot about them.
After Aquin, yeah.
Still... Yeah.
Until week 8. They had week 8 against West Carroll, and they blew them out of the water 44-6.
And that's when, not that we were ever doubting that team.
Right.
That's when I was like, okay, they have been improving. Because in the Northwest games, when you get outside of playing the top 4, so to speak, against each other, you kind of don't really pay attention because the 4 are going to take care of the bottom 5 for most of the time. So Forreston's really done a good job of improving as the year's gone on, kind of like you said, as we'd expect them to. But, Amboy is... Oh, excuse you.
Yeah, thank you.
Amboy is, a little bit different than what they've been in the last couple of years.
They are. Then, getting to see Amboy at Dakota here as I picked up the second half of that game here a couple weeks ago, a game you were at. Luckily, with all the early start times, I was able to get to my game and then come to Dakota for a little nightcap. But being able to see Amboy play, they still are good-sized kids with a lot of athleticism. And I really like what they're doing as far as being able to throw the ball and get it out there and get people moving in the right direction. They have weapons.
They just lack something.
Drive. It's just the finishing of the play part of the drive. If they could get all of it put together, and that's where it is. It's their line play. Their line play is decent. It's not great, or good, I should say.
Right.
And if they had good line play rather than decent line play, then yeah, they would be much better and they'd be winning more of these ball games because you see it on both the offensive and defensive fronts. And that's why you see the run-dominated teams be able to push over them. And that's why I like the Cardinals in this game, because they're going to be able to push through Amboy.
Yeah, I like Forreston as well.
Our Upstate game of the week takes us back to Milledgeville, where they will play host to Aquin. Aquin comes in with a 4-4 mark. Milledgeville comes in perfect at 8-0. Last week, Aquin lost to Stockton in our Upstate game of the week 20-6, so maybe this is a game we should not have put as Upstate game of the week. Aquin seems to do better when they're not showcased. Yeah. Milledgeville, on the other hand, beat River Ridge 54-14 in a more lopsided game than I had anticipated in that one.
Yeah.
Last year, this game was a game that Aquin won 38-0. If you remember that one correctly, Shane, it was a game that we thought was really going to be close. Once again, it was our Upstate game of the week at that point in time last year, and Milledgeville came out and just dropped an egg right off the bat.
What the heck happened there?
Aquin showed up in the first half that game, remember?
That year. We better be careful. I've already pissed enough people off tonight. Oh, yeah. Boy, how the tides have turned a little bit here this year. Milledgeville is really clicking on all cylinders here. We'll see what that translates into in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at, Milledgeville's got like 2,200 yards rushing. And their leading rusher is Carson Boyer, who's got just over 600 yards, and then Nate Rand, and then Cade Gusloff. So, I mean, between the three of them, they're sitting at like 1,700 of that 2,200 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing a good job of mixing up the carries, being misdirection type.
Right.
Typical Milledgeville football from back in the Kerry Harchie days, to be honest. Because a lot of what they do now is all about hiding the ball and making sure you get off your blocks.
Yep.
And they're good at that. The only problem I see with Milledgeville is they're just undersized.
Right.
And yeah, they're a tough football team. I love the way that they play the game of football. There's no doubt about that. I'm getting a lot of hate mail. I'm getting a lot of hate from Milledgeville people because they don't like the stance that I say, I'm sorry, you're not going to compete with Lena Winslow. There's some points where there's just straight facts, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think because you obviously don't care what I think. Therefore, when it comes to that, I'm sorry, Milledgeville does play good football. I do like the way they play football. They cannot match up with Lena Winslow.
Yeah. This is the third year we've done this, and every year we pick a team from the Upstate side who is quote-unquote world beaters, and we have to kind of bring them down a level. 2016 was Stockton. They didn't even survive Salt Fork before they would have gotten leveled by Winslow in the second round, I think.
Yeah.
Last year was Aquin. They had weapons. They were going to welcome in the Panthers, and they were just going to beat them down. Well, 28-0, and Valentine's jogging to the end zone.
28-0 in the first 6 minutes of the game.
Basically saying, all right, now what? And I hate to say it, but you're right. And we've gone back and forth on our Facebook and social media websites with Milledgeville. Congratulations. Don't get me wrong. 8-0. I'll throw it out there. I'm picking them this week. 9-0. Great. Great Upstate season. Probably looking at what? Third seed in the North, somewhere in there.
Third seed is definitely where Milledgeville's definitely looking at.
So I haven't pulled up the bracket here, but
we'll pull up our projections here real fast.
I mean, you're looking at
so third seed, you're looking at getting Lewistown, a very winnable game.
And by the second round, you're probably drawing a little bit more in the likes there.
Second round, you're going to get the winner of either Fisher and Dakota.
Okay, so yeah, your second round game is going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah, precisely.
A lot more difficult, regardless of which team you play there.
Yes. Because Fisher's really good.
Because what we did see is something that not a lot of people like to talk about, and the difference of the conference, and no better example of this than, yes, it was a lopsided score, but Stockton played tough with Milledgeville. Well, if you come over to our lovely chalkboard here, you look at where West Carroll is there. West Carroll's among the bottom at 2-6, and they took care of Stockton. Do the math.
Well,
the difference
Dubuque is right here,
right?
and they just took care of Orangeville.
Exactly.
And I know that Coach Doyle's going to be a little upset with that take.
Granted, and I would say outside of Du-Pec and Galena, and depending on which West Carroll team shows up, anybody on the Northwest is probably going to take care of over here, outside of those 3 or 4 teams there. But that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you take the bottom 5, and any one of them can beat them. I mean, hell, you got Amboy sitting at 3-5, and Milledgeville took care of them like they were nothing.
Yep.
So
that was a long time ago too.
I would still take. Honestly, I'd still take Milledgeville in that game. I just would. Why? Because they know how to control the ball. They know how to run. They make very little mistakes.
Right.
They play, like I said, they play good football. I really love the way Milledgeville plays. They play like you would expect them to play 10 years ago when they were going to the semifinals, 20 years ago when they went to the semifinals.
Right.
They just don't have the size of those teams.
Right. And something we haven't touched on the reverse side is Aquin has to win in order for a chance to get to the playoffs. You know, a lot of people, I loved the tweet, I think it was Aquin's assistant, Blackburn, right? Who tweeted, you know, we still control our own destiny.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough road, but it's true.
It's true. It's very true. And they can.
Yeah, you win and you
This
win.
is not a game that is outside of Aquin's control by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, they can compete, and, you know, I would not be surprised to see a close game or watch them pull it off. I mean, nothing in this game will surprise me.
No. And I mean, it's one of those things. So right now, I mean, can Milledgeville make it, you know, a quarterfinal run? Yeah. I can see them making a quarterfinal run. I can see Milledgeville matching up with Dakota or Fisher and making that a very
That'd be a good
game.
second round game.
Yeah. It would be. The problem is that the road's going to end in the quarters. And that's not a bad thing. It's just
because the way the bracket is now, I think that's Aurora Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not a bad thing. And
you'd be at home at least.
I'm going to say something that I very rarely say. Yes, you're going to be at home. And I mean, here's the thing. I believe that on any given day, anybody can win. It depends what team wants to show up and wants to win on that given day. It's hard to do that when the team across from you is in the exact same mindset and the talent skill and the talent gap is like this.
Correct.
And then you throw in the size gap is like this. That's where I say you have a problem. And there are some teams that are going to be in these playoffs that have that size gap, and irregardless if you think you're better than them or not, they could still play a mediocre game and walk away with the win.
Well, we've seen that out of the top team all year.
Lena wins. So,
I like Milledgeville at home. Getting it done.
I do.
And then after playoff hopes.
The good thing is if Aquin wins this one, it definitely shakes up the pot.
Everything.
Which is great.
Rattles everything.
It would move Fisher to the south bracket. It would push 2A. It would move Pleasant Plains back up to 3A. So it's going to lower the 2A.
Everybody gets bumped up one class, all the way from 1 on up to 8.
And it's it'll push a 5-4 with 37 points out.
Right.
That's what it would do. Ultimately, obviously, like you said, it gets Aquin in.
Yeah.
So I do like the missiles. I've been on the missile bandwagon all year long. They're at home. It's time to ring the bell. 9-0. I believe it would be the 3rd time in school history they finished the regular season at 9-0.
Right where we picked them.
Our Northwest game of the week is going to take us to East Dubuque, where West Carroll will come into town to take on the Warriors. West Carroll comes in with a 2-6 mark. East Dubuque comes in with a 3-5 mark. Last week, West Carroll lost to Forreston 48-6, where East Dubuque beat Orangeville 38-27, and this is a game, Shane, last year that West Carroll won 43-6, and the year before, if you actually take a look at it, West Carroll won 43-0. So,
wow, yeah. So you take those two scores, you add them up, and that has nothing to do with this year.
Bingo! You got that right.
Completely different teams headed in different directions right now. Although I can't really say that because a team from East Dubuque went to Du-Pec and decided to lay the most monstrous pile of dong I've seen in the conference this year.
Yeah. It was.
I mean, realistically, other than EPC being Lane Winslow, what's been the biggest upset of the year? Probably something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
East
the rest of it's kind of gone. I mean, outside of Dakota being more mediocre than we anticipated them at the beginning of the year.
But somehow we kind of knew that that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Within the first couple games. But
by the time they played Forreston, we knew exactly what they were.
So, I mean, realistically, you're talking that one game really screwed East Dubuque for the rest of the year. And granted, that was only 2 weeks ago. You could have been talking about an East Dubuque team playing West Carroll for a chance to get in the playoffs, screwing everything up, like a potential Aquin matchup. You know, just everything that we thought it would be, although we all picked them to go 0-9 this year. So I guess it's been a successful season as far as we're concerned. Won more games than we thought they would. But left a lot on the table. That, I'm sorry, but that week 7 cannot happen.
No.
It cannot.
No. You're absolutely right. And, you know, you take a look at what we got going on here, and, you know, with that being said, East Dubuque now has to win this game, which can definitely help Orangeville. And the reason why it will help Orangeville is it will give them the additional playoff point that they need to potentially rise. And it's going to be a hard bet because I don't think it's even possible, to be honest, unless some upsets happen.
Within Lewistown's games.
Right, correct. Lewistown has to have some upsets in their opponents for this to happen. But if it could, and East Dubuque can win this game, Orangeville can rise up to the 14 seed and then set up a rematch with Milledgeville in Milledgeville, and you've seen what those games have come out to the last 2 years.
Exactly.
That would be very interesting to see if that can take place.
To see that.
Well, you know, in between each of our sets tonight, I've been kind of going back and forth with Coach Doyle on what he could potentially see. And when we found out the news about Polo and losing 2 points because of Metro East Lutheran, it projected them into the 15 seed, looking at Ottawa Marquette. And then we start looking at this game, and it's like, whoa, hey, light bulb here. Something can happen here, potentially. East Dubuque wins, that gets Orangeville to 41 points. Now, if things go as projected for Lewistown, Lewistown's going to finish at 42. But if something gets turned upside down, as long as Lewistown wins, they're in. But if other teams that they've played does not go to prediction, then you're looking at them being at 42 or under 42, which would put it happen. I mean, there's a lot that can happen as we go into the last week.
I would say,
I would say we're about 95% accurate with
that last 5% is going to be fun, though.
Yeah, last 5% is going to be fun. And that's what makes this week so much fun.
Just imagine if we were doing this for 8A. You'd have so much stuff to be watching.
Yeah, well, I don't care about the big schools. I love small school football.
Exactly.
You go to the towns, you see the camaraderie, you see the bands, you see all the past people come in. This is where football's at, man. Yeah. And you talk to a lot of people that go to them big school games, and they'll tell you small school football is where it's at. And I agree. We both know. We've been through it. It's where it's at. This game, I like the Warriors.
Me too.
All right, our Player of the Week segment. We had some good players or some good games this past week that had some that showcased very good players. Some of those we've already picked throughout the course of the year, and we don't really want to be picking people twice in the year. But I think that what we landed with is going to be very good, and they're new to the Player of the Week segment as well. So, without further ado, our first one is going to be Lane Boyer of East Dubuque. He went 11 for 17 passing for 306 yards with 5 touchdowns, added a rushing touchdown in the game to give him 6 total touchdowns in that big win over Orangeville last week.
Just a big performance. Definitely worthy. Not much else you can say.
Well, and it's one of those things.
And not bad for being not their number 1 quarterback.
Right. I mean, he was in a backup role because Breitbach was injured. Lane steps in, takes over the reins, as we've seen before.
Kind of makes you wonder where they'd be right now if he was their starter all year. So,
well, yeah.
Here, there, everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I still think he's more valuable to him when he's out catching the passes. But
not a bad second option.
No, not at all. I mean, he's pretty talented. There's no doubt about that. Our second winner is going to be Tucker Mumford of Polo. Finished with 116 yards on 13 carries with 3 touchdowns. In their big win, that's going to propel them into the playoffs in their last year of 11-man football. So, big contributions there as well.
Yep, congratulations. Definitely an all-star performance there.
So we'd like to give thanks to coaches and hometown trophies. Players of the Week, please stop to coaches to get your pizza voucher, your medallion, and your T-shirt. If you cannot make that, just let us know. We'll make sure that arrangements can be made so you can receive your prizes as well, whether it be through your head coach or somebody traveling your way. We'll make sure that you get the awards. Just let us know. All right, so that gives you a recap of what we're looking at as we head into Week 9. Obviously, we got a lot of things that are going to take place that can definitely lead us into Selection Saturday, change some of the things that we have projected already.
Yeah, and not just here, throughout the state, there's going to be some games that are really going to throw some things, hopefully not off too far. I think we've got a pretty good gauge on what's going on. Like you said, about 95% accurate. We know, for the most part, the teams that are going to be in 1A, barring a couple upsets, so to speak. A lot of people sure are fascinated about that whole Tuscola 2A crap. Jesus.
Well, that's just it. So, I mean, just to throw it out there so everybody can calm down.
Everybody's so worried about the bridesmaids.
I know, right? If Lewistown wins, which they are projected to win by 2 scores in their game this week, if they win, Tuscola is out.
If Aquin wins, Tuscola is out. If Fisher loses to Leroy, Tuscola is out. Like, seriously. People need to quit worrying about Tuscola. I'm tired of talking about it.
Right. I mean,
seriously.
One of the games that originally was projected was Casey Westfield. They still have a chance, but the problem is most likely they're going to project at 36 playoff points. That's not going to be enough to get them in. You got to be at 37. Safe spot's 38 because the way some of these things can fall, I could definitely see some 5-4 teams at 37 not get in.
Right.
Especially if some of these upsets do take place. I mean, you got Alton Marquette, which I overlooked for the last 3 weeks. There's another one, Rushville Industry. That's one I've been watching, but other people have overlooked. Alton Marquette's already in. They got 5 wins. Rushville can win this week, and they're in with 5 wins. And they'll have more playoff points than Alton Marquette. Right. Alton Marquette's going to have 37 playoff points. Rushville's going to have 38. So that's really going to make a lot of changes take place in the Class 2A poll there, which can definitely move the bump even further as far as 2A goes, and that could push Pleasant Plains up into 3A again.
Right, and then within the conference, Warren, AFC, one of them is going to get a win. I think the projections of the playoffs have Warren winning that, so to speak, I would assume.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
I mean,
The
granted,
projections show
granted,
Warren winning
all
that game.
the only team that would affect if AFC wins is Dakota, so that's not a big deal because they're pretty much solidified at 11, barring a few things.
Yes, they're not going to catch Aurora Christian unless they beat Lena Winslow.
So, yeah, and then, like you said, for old-time purposes, Lena Winslow, Dakota, if you're into that whole game atmosphere. I mean, that's always a good atmosphere nonetheless.
Oh, it's great.
The game might not be so great, but the atmosphere, the anticipation up until kickoff, it's like something you've never seen before.
I just hope the Lena fans aren't getting too raucous over a butt whooping that is anticipated.
Right. And then, just the games of the week, those should be good as well. So.
No, they should be. I mean, it's definitely, we got some good games on the docket this week. We'll see what happens. Like you said, it's the best week of the year as we get into Selection Saturday. The second best week of the year is obviously State.
We'll be.
Yeah, exactly. It's where we'll be. We'll be there.
Just make sure we're watching all of your teams.
Don't forget, we will go YouTube Live for our playoff show this Saturday. With that, we will make sure that the links are up on our social media pages, both on Facebook and on Twitter. That way, if you have not subscribed to us, you can still watch us live as we run through what we feel the breakdown will be as far as playoff matchups, and then we'll reveal what the actual matchups are once they come out via IHSA. Get out to the games this week. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be cold. Dress warm. As always, root for the NUIC.